To the I-Team now. Some murders go unsolved because there are simply no suspects, but that is not the case with the double murder in Athens from the early 90s.
Fox 5 I-Team reporter Randy Travis says that case has always had a suspect, and now the victim's only child is asking authorities to take another look. Randy?
That's right. Yeah, Kelsey Bryant thinks she knows who killed her parents. Court papers even named him as the suspect. She's counting on an upcoming true crime podcast to remind others of her story and help in any way they can.
The only thing that I've seen is like the videos of Billy McDivine like holding me when I was a really small baby, and every time I saw that, I just got shivers.
Billy McDivine was the only named suspect in the murders of Kelsey Bryant's parents, a criminal case filled with high-stakes drama and lifelong wounds, still slow to heal. Kelsey was just 9 months old when authorities found Janelle Helms and Robbie Bryant shot to death in their Athens home. At the time, back in 1994, Kelsey had been visiting her great uncle and relatives in Florida. But after the murders, a grand jury indicted Divine for stealing money from Janelle's trust fund, $200,000 that should have gone to the child. He also happened to be in Athens around the time of the murders. Police believe the victims knew their killer. No sign of a break-in. Nothing stolen.
Excuse us, please. We have a court date.
More than a year later, a Florida judge agreed to take Kelsey away from the Divines, the only family she had ever really known, and give her to family in Georgia that she had never met.
They've never seen the infant, ever. Never touched it, never seen it, never provided $1 for its care or a biscuit for its lunch.
Rick and Diane Bryant would ultimately adopt Kelsey, the little girl growing up on their Watkinsville farm. But she would struggle with emotional issues for most of those years. Thoughts of her birth parents never far away. Obviously, you have no memory of your parents.
Nope.
What do you think they were like?
Seems like they were a lot like me, and maybe my mom was somebody who would have really understood me as a person, and my dad too.
I got to tell you, Kelsey's story really touched me. I've got 2 daughters around her age, and I can't imagine them going through what she did. Shortly after she was adopted, her new parents mailed me a Christmas picture of her. And all these years later, I've still got it pinned up on my office wall. This is an investigation where we laid it out for the public to understand. That's why I agreed to help with this. There's still a chance that perhaps the person who did this can be brought to justice.
Can something be done about it all these years later? And I'm just crazy enough to believe that something can be done.
Through his Classic City Crime podcast, Cameron J. vowed to profile every unsolved murder in Athens since the 1960s, as long as the victim's family agreed. Kelsey's parents are his latest project. How hard was it to convince her to tell her story?
I think it's always difficult to convince people to talk about some of the most traumatic experiences of their life.
I was so surprised when he came to me. I was surprised that people still cared.
Prosecutors said they only had circumstantial evidence connecting Divine to the murders, not enough, they thought, to win a conviction. Divine was eventually convicted of stealing from the trust fund, sentenced to prison, and ordered to pay back the money to Kelsey, even though he continued to deny any wrongdoing.
I've never intentionally, knowingly done anything to steal from anybody, certainly not from my precious Kelsey.
But that conviction was overturned because the appellate court ruled Divine should have been prosecuted in Florida, not Georgia. He was never retried, never went to prison, never paid back any of Kelsey's money. What's his condition today?
He's still alive. He still has a story to tell that we haven't heard, by the way. But Robbie and Janelle don't have that luxury. And that's why I think, telling their story is so vital to keeping them alive.
You think he murdered your parents?
I think all the evidence points to that, so yeah.
If they don't make an arrest, if it's never solved, is that going to have an effect on your mental health for the rest of your life, or can you get past that?
I can certainly get past that. Of course, that would be ideal to have conviction, but I know the truth.
As for that podcast, it's expected to drop by the end of the month.
Well, it's really something that you've kept your picture on your desk for all that time. What are police saying in Athens, Clark County about all this?
Talked to them recently. They said that the case is still active. Divine's still a suspect.
Really?
Yeah, and we have put the detective's name and contact information on the website version of this story. If anybody does have information, they'd love to hear from them.
Well, there have been so many cases, major cases that, well, previously many people had never heard of, that due to a podcast or more reporting, they came to light and then new things came out. So it'll be interesting to see if this podcast brings anything out of the shadows with this case.
And I think I'm a lot like Janelle and Robbie's friends, Kelsey. We just want to see an ending to this story. And, 27 years later, we still don't have one.
Yeah. She deserves an answer, no question.
Yeah, she does.
Randy, thanks.
Randy, thanks.